There we are, all three of our bright shining faces live on Facebook for all the world to see. Does that make you guys nervous? No? You guys are professionals. Right now, we don't get nervous. We go live on Facebook all the time.
If you get on the screen with beautiful people, people just look at them. So it's cool.
This is true. This is true. And it's like, you guys are probably like, we're live on TikTok every day doing our TikTok dances. So this is way easier than that. The surprise for the night is we're all going to share a TikTok dance together right now. People are watching on Facebook. They're like, oh, great. Now we got to watch Derek dance. Nope, nobody has to watch me dance. This is Parents Helping Parents live. Welcome back to another great Monday with us. I keep looking away. It's not because I'm distracted. It's because I'm looking at my live stream on the other screen to make sure that it's functioning the way it should. It is. So it's good to have everybody here. Do something real quick for me before you kind of get settled in and before we get started is reach up, click the like button, click the share button to the video that you're watching. People ask us all the time, what's the number one way we can help support your organization or help support a small business? And the answer to that is share content. The message that Parents Helping Parents has to offer, the message that Ray and Ann are going to be sharing with us tonight, could quite literally be a life-saving message for somebody that's struggling with alcohol or substance use. If you've got 800 Facebook friends, you don't know what percentage of those people that you're Facebook friends with have a struggling friend, a struggling family member, or could be struggling themselves. So by sharing the link to your page, you are, in a sense, pushing our message out to an infinite number of people. Then if those people share it and those people share it and so on and so on, that's how the message gets out. That's how change happens. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you're not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, we're an Oklahoma-based 501c3, founded by parents, primarily run by parents, with a mission to support parents through education, shared experience, and connecting of resources. So in the Oklahoma area and in Wichita, we host parent support groups. Right now, because of COVID, those are primarily happening on an online forum, through those large Zoom meetings. Hopefully that starts to change soon now that vaccines are out. But I want to encourage everybody to check out the website, parentshelpingparents.info, for more information about a local chapter near you. We're really happy that you can join the live stream. But there is something really powerful about being in a room full of parents that are mutually supporting one another and offering care. And that's what we hope this is a medium to connect you to a local chapter, to connect you to additional support. So thank you for joining us. As an organization, Parents Helping Parents has no professional expertise or experience. The mission's limited to parents sharing their own experiences, things they've learned along the way. We never want people to be confused that Parents Helping Parents is somehow a substitute for professional counseling, medical advice, legal advice. All of those things are wonderful. We think you should get them if they're appropriate for your needs. But as an organization, that's not what we do. We offer peer support. So in addition to that, you'll notice the title of the video has a text line. We're monitoring that live. If you're watching, if you've got questions about what we're talking about, maybe you've got questions about stuff we're not talking about. You're like, hey, I tuned in to hear this. Nobody's talked about that yet. Shoot us a comment on the Facebook feed. Shoot us a text message to that line. We would love to answer that for you as we kind of sit and visit. So one more time, as you're watching, be sure you click that like button, click that share button, share this to your timeline so that we can spread the message of hope and recovery to everybody that might need to hear it. So I feel really lucky. I feel really blessed to be here tonight. I've got two really top-notch, wonderful human beings that were willing to come on and share parts of their story and share parts of their knowledge and experience with us. So Ray, as long as you're not offended, ladies first. And I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about kind of who you are and why you're here.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Ray. Hi, everybody. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I am here primarily from the position representing the parent voice and the importance of parent participation, family participation in recovery. I started my own journey really seeking some support and help for my own family back around 2003. And at the time, I found an amazing organization, Parents Helping Parents, which was founded a couple years before that in Edmond. So my husband and I were traveling back and forth to attend those meetings because circling up with other parents, the information that was shared, the support, the resources was just so important. So a couple of years after that, my husband and I and a group of people who were attending were invited to open a chapter in our community in Norman. So we did that in 2004, and that was just a transformational experience to really invite community participants in and learn more about the resources in our community and share. So with that, my day job, I'm an architect, and I got really interested in the midst of working my day job in really understanding more about what is substance use disorder, what is recovery, what is the family piece, how can parents, what is their role of really assisting and being more supportive of the journey of when a person's struggling. So I went back to school at University of Oklahoma, and I got a master's in social work. So I chipped away at that for about 4 years, part-time, and I was the happiest graduate ever. So following that, I retired from my firm, and I had been in the midst of what was happening with Parents Helping Parents. I got the opportunity to train as a parent peer coach for Partnership to End Addiction. You might have known them from the earlier name as Partnership for Drug-Free America. So I trained as a parent peer coach, working nationally with parents as a volunteer under their organization. And eventually I was offered a position on their helpline. So I'm currently a helpline specialist. I talk to parents all over the country. The main thrust of our organization nationally is pretty much similar to what Parents Helping Parents is doing in our community on a local basis, but I'm supporting parents, resources, support, lots of good information, and I facilitate online support meeting on behalf of that organization as well. So I'm still very involved in Parents Helping Parents here in my community, and also doing some really exciting national work. So I'm really pleased to be here today and share a little bit more about the family part of the recovery journey, which is so important.
Yeah, Anne, thank you so much for being here. I really wasn't being too kind. Like, I think that you're one of like the most kind-hearted, most giving parent volunteers, and somebody that like honestly just wants to see change in community and change nationally in terms of how addiction treatment is done, both for individuals and for families. So really thank you so much for being here and joining us.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray Baker, floor is yours, sir.
Well, I'm just pretty excited because when Anne's group, this Partnership to End Addiction, get their job done, we won't need sober living anymore, and we can move on to other stuff. So I'm pretty excited, Anne. I'm Ray Baker, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, celebrating recovery from alcoholism. Have 11 years of recovery going on, and I've just been super blessed to get to not only work in recovery with a lot of different programs, to include Parents Helping Parents, but also get to lead a sober living ministry that we call Patriots in Recovery Living. And so tonight I will spend most of my time just sharing about how our program works and some of the neat things that are going on there. So let me just start. Maybe, yes. Let me just start by talking about how that most of us are like myself. Told you I'm in recovery from alcoholism, but we're home and drunk or whatever, and we may go off to detox and try to come back home, but we kind of get in a do loop. Some people get to go to detox and treatment and go on to sober life, and man, that is awesome. But all too often, we end up right back down here again, and it's not good. So what I learned in sponsoring new guys in recovery, both in a program called Celebrate Recovery that I may talk some more about, as well as Alcoholics Anonymous, which I'm just saying that name. I'm not promoting anything here, but through those kinds of programs, we get to work 12-step work with people. And I found that those guys who were going to sober living were doing better. And so I started partnering with some sober living efforts and ran into some really neat mentors in the recovery community who were willing to let us help us get started with a sober living initiative. And so we bought the original boarding house for the Territorial School College here in Oklahoma. Before we were a state, there was a teacher's school, and they had built a boarding house for those teachers. So we were able to pick that up and have room for 15 guys to come and live with us. So we grab guys in sober living coming right out of treatment, and we make this transition with them to have a sober life and never have to go back here again. Some guys have said, well, Ray, I want to go back home again. And so, okay, then we go back to a recovery life. And we can go back to our old jobs and our old family and our old friends. It's best if they've been changing with us, but a lot of neat things can happen. Now, let me just spend a moment on that. You see, I believe when we grab a new guy out of treatment and he comes to live with us, I start working with his parents right away and saying, I'm sorry, I jumped there. But I say, it's neat if we can get the whole family plugged into recovery and everybody working a 12-step program. And a lot of the parents are like, well, but you see, I don't really have the problem. It came from my spouse's side of the family, but the truth is the 12-step program is good for all of us. The basis for it comes right back all the way to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes. And the whole concept has just flown through these steps in life. And so I believe that we're all aided if we work these kinds of programs. Let me just jump forward and talk about our vision, and that is provide a leg up, not a handout, to sober living for men who want a drug and alcohol-free environment. And we do that by providing a structured, safe, selective sober program for men. We're men only right now. There's some vision that says we could expand, but for right now, we're a men-only program for men active in 12-step recovery and wanting to transition to independent living and a career. And this is really our niche in the sober living community, is working towards that career. So how's it going? Well, we've had 150 guys. In fact, I just had dinner with the newest guy who moved in this last week, and got to have dinner with his parents over at Celebrate Recovery, and we got to talk about expectations and opportunities. So he's number 150. We've had 150 guys. 61 of them have gone back out. So man, that's yellow. Less than 60% of our guys have remained sober. Now, this is over a 9-year period. But man, seriously, really, why bother? But I'm a nerd. I got a couple of engineering degrees, and I like to think about data and understand data. And if I look at the data, it says those guys who have stayed less than 3 months, only 53% of those dudes are still sober today. And this one's down a little bit right now, maybe because we don't have many residents in this area. But those guys that even stay 3 to 6 are still at the 50% point. But something happens at the 6-month point, and I'll explain what I think that is. But of our guys who have stayed at least 6 months and worked our program, 70% of them are still sober today. And of those 13 that have relapsed, 9 of them are sober again. And so we're really seeing good success with guys who will come and spend 6 months surrendering to the program and recovery. And here's why I think it works. And I'm a little bit, I'm out here, I've only got 150 data points, but I know that in 6 months, a guy, if he will get a sponsor and work the 12-step program, he's all the way through the steps by the 6-month point, and he's ready to start sponsoring guys himself. And here's the key, I think, to almost anything. But if I stop being the student and I become the teacher, I stop being the consumer and I start being the supplier of information. Wow, I learn it then. And I'm not just answering my own silly questions, but I'm answering this new guy's questions as I'm sponsoring the new guy into the program. And I think that's when the miracle really happens. Oh, we're 15 beds. We got all the stuff that a normal sober living house has, except our bedrooms are so small. We were built in 1905 for those teachers at the teacher school. So we only have one person per room. And each guy has his own room, twin bed, desk, chair, closet, chest of drawers, and a bathroom. It's a 3/4 bath, shower and stool and sink. So our guys have a pretty neat opportunity to really get in here and work these programs. We're close to UCO, literally a stone's throw away. I think I could hit it. I think I could hit the library with a 3-wood, but I haven't yet. But what we offer is a job, an education, and a career. And I think this is key because we don't want guys just going back to what they've always done, but let's step up. And if they didn't have a career, let's get one. We've got UCO to go to school with. All of our guys aren't veteran. We started out really focusing on those guys in their GI Bill, but we got a lot of different guys. And Francis Tuttle, which is a technology center, has built another new facility within a mile of us here, or they're building it right now, but they've got another one 2 miles away. So we really focus in on getting guys to focus in and get a career. So in summary, we said that 70% of our guys are still sober. 18 have graduated college of the 46 who've attended. We're learning to work a sober program. And there is just something about working with a bunch of other guys who are all in the same boat together. We believe in a continuum of care. I told you we only take guys who've been to treatment because we let the pros do what the pros do. And then we take them. And we want them to get a counselor as soon as they get here for that transition. 15 of our guys have been employed in the profession of recovery. 2 of them are counseling down at Rob's Ranch right now. It's just pretty cool to watch our guys grow and flourish. And that's our program. So thanks for letting me share that. Back to you, fearless leader.
Yeah, I'm on mute. I've done this 1,000 times. I always talk when I'm on mute. It's like, by the time I figure out how to do this, then we're going to be having live meetings again, right? Ray, thanks for everything you've done for the recovery community. We appreciate that. You know, you answered one of the questions that I typed in with what you thought your answer is, which is the research shows that the longer somebody stays engaged in some sort of professional treatment or support services like sober living, the better their chances of sobriety is long-term. The longer, the better. I was going to ask you why. You kind of addressed that, because the longer they engage, the more they're able to give back and switch their mindset to one that's like, hey, I'm offering support back to the community. I'm giving back. And that's a whole paradigm shift. So what I'd like to do, Ann, is I'd kind of like to hear maybe from you if Ray's experience, and we know that the research, backs that, is, hey, the number one predictor of success is the length that a guy stays engaged. What would you say? Well, let me ask you 2 questions, because I think we've got to specifically talk about, when we talk about success for somebody that's been to treatment, we're typically talking about, is someone sober? Are they engaged in healthy lifestyle, work, education, those type of things? Question 1 would be like, how would you as a family member define family success after treatment? And then question 2 would be, how or what do you feel like are the predictors for family success? If length of time engaged in sober living is a predictor of the identified patient success, what would you say the family predictor is? Do those questions make sense? Kind of circled.
They do. They do. I kind of almost want to address the second one first, but about the predictor. But I really feel like again, and Ray kind of addressed this too. I think there's kind of a mindset when somebody, when a loved one goes to treatment from the family. And number one, we're so relieved because it is a trauma to the whole family system. But we tend to think, okay, now they're going to go get help. They're going to come out and be cured or fixed, and everything's going to be fine. And getting parents to really understand that, as Ray is saying, you know, treatment is super, super important, but it's really the start of the recovery journey when a loved one comes out and the rubber hits the road in terms of triggers and life experiences and how a loved one lives life sober. We just kind of assume as families, they're going to have all that figured out and know how to do that. And we really don't appreciate in the process how much of the toxicity over time we have absorbed as family members. We're so busy watching our loved one, we don't see our own journey. And really such an aha moment is kind of that idea that, oh my gosh, we're watching our loved ones spiral, but we're not noticing our own spiral because we're so focused on our loved one. So when we start to appreciate when our loved one starts to get help, or even before they do, but so much depends on the family rolling up their sleeves, appreciating that they have absorbed so much of the toxicity of all the dysfunctional dynamics, and appreciating that having a loved one trying to make changes and get sober, if they come out of treatment and the family is still toxic and hasn't done work and isn't changing, we're really doing a disservice to the journey of our loved one trying to make recovery work. So again, you know, really looking at our own piece and realizing families that are, when a loved one is working recovery and taking all those steps. To me, you know, a big predictor is what's happening on the family side. Are the family, are they just looking to the loved one to do all that? Or are they walking parallel with the loved one, not in their lane, not doing it for them, but are they walking side by side and working their own recovery program, doing their own recovery tools? And, you know, with things that are available on the side of the struggling loved one, like AA, NA, different programs. There's also programs for families like Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, different programs that the loved ones can work too. So we can work those same recovery tools and best support our loved one as they're working their journey.
Yeah, and I love what you said about treatment being the start. Like, so many times I think culturally we get it twisted that like, oh, somebody gets out of treatment, they're done, fixed, finished, right? And I told somebody, I think even in today, I think I told several people in session today, but you know, that this whole process, it's not the repaving of a parking lot where you tear out old concrete, you pour new concrete, and then all of a sudden you're done. It's much more like tending a garden over the course of time, right? Like the more we work, the healthier we get, the better things look, the more productive we are in society. And so really families understanding that, hey, treatment was the beginning. That's like tilling everything and getting everything ready to plant, right? Now let's really go to work doing the actual gardening. So important. Ray, you said that you guys just, how long's the new guy that you had dinner with tonight been in the house?
Got here Thursday, so
Okay.
4 or 5 days.
Yeah. So, you got a guy that's four days into this at your house. You're already having dinner with the family and beginning to have those conversations. So my question for Ray is from, and I know that you would say that you're not a treatment professional, but you're a professional, a paraprofessional in the sense that, you run the house, you provide the support for these guys and the structure. So from your perspective, why is it so vital to work with families post-treatment to help provide success? And then, and following Ray, like, why is it so vital for families to work with people, like from a family perspective? But we'll let Ray go first to address the addict and alcoholic.
Well, thanks, Derek. We say about ourselves, we say we need to change people, places, and things. It's kind of a pretty common statement. We don't have to change all those things. Some of those things can change, meaning if some of the people in our life start changing and getting plugged into recovery, we don't have to change those people. And if we can change the places such that we're not plugged into the wrong things when we're there. So let's just stay with the family and people. Man, the family, it is such a crime to meet a guy or a lady who's been working the 12-step program and they say, yeah, I got through 4, I was in step 5, I just dropped out. They did all of the hard work. They opened up all those scabs of their life and they addressed all those things, but they didn't finish to get to the point of relationships that we work out in steps 8 and 9. You see, it's the relationships in life that matter. All of the poems and stories that we hear about people on their deathbed and what they think was all about people. It's all about relationships. And so we want to create the opportunity for our guys to go back to their families and get plugged in and participate and be parts of their community. And I think part of that is the community changing, the family changing at home, and a whole lot of it is us changing through recovery. But if we both do it, oh my goodness. I don't know how many people come to Celebrate Recovery because I asked them to, and they came because of their son, but their goal was, I'm going to go there while my son, finishes his recovery. And then if the son relapses, what do? Well, they stay and now they work this program for themselves because we're all hurting and we all need recovery. And so it can really be awesome. Over to you, Ann.
I think the first thing that hits me in all this is family. Dynamics are so complex, and stigma and shame, attitudes are changing because, we're learning so much more about the science of the brain and addiction and everything. But those lingering stigmas are, and the shame is still a tough thing, and families really can absorb that, and trying to peel all those layers of the onion back and really understand, when a friend of mine the other day in recovery said, if somebody had another kind of God forbid, another kind of disease like cancer, we'd all be upset and we'd be surrounding the person with love and support. But the thing that makes it difficult with addiction is that loved one wouldn't be maybe, stealing silverware out of the parents' drawers or whatever. So the behavior is we get caught up in the behavior as families, and we get resentful, and we look at our own part as families, and we attach back that perhaps we're to blame. There's something that kind of picks at us a little bit, that maybe this is our fault, and all these kind of really deep-seated things that we work hard to get beyond. So with that, you know, and the other thing for families is we hear a lot of really bad messages, like just let them hit rock bottom, let them, you know, just ignore them, let them go away and detach and cut all ties. And you know, we would never do that. We would never even think to do that if we had a loved one struggling with another kind of disease, and our neighbors with other, not to take away from other kinds of diseases, but our neighbors would be bringing us casseroles, and it's a very lonely journey for families. So with that, I love what Ray was saying about at the heart of this is relationships, is for parents and families appreciating what a hurting, struggling loved one needs more than anything is the unconditional, unjudgmental love. It doesn't mean we have to jump in there and do and fix and rescue and do all those things that we should keep our hands off, most likely, because we don't want to jump in there and actually end up sabotaging somebody's recovery. But learning how to establish our own healthy boundaries, but not doing for our somebody else what they should be doing for themselves. But with that whole piece, families really working with other families is really key to this. It is really hard for families to say walk through the doors of an agency. I mean, we do it, but connecting with other good, loving families that we share these struggles and we really fully understand all the layers to this, because we're hardwired to each other, because we get it, because we share the journey. That is so validating in this. So it makes sense that families would be kind of poised to take the hand of the next person and really help them along. I love this image. I heard this somewhere, and it's always stuck with me, that what we want to do is take the hand of the person behind us and in front of us on the journey, and we're all the stronger because we're all connected. And to me, that's been such a beautiful way of saying we can't do any of this in isolation. We have to be connected, and we have to understand that preserving the relationship is possible and is so important. And we can do that without violating boundaries and keeping our own integrity and values in check.
One of the things that I hear you saying, Ann, is something that I hear Ray saying earlier, is that this is really about relationship, and it's not only about relationship between the person struggling with the disease of addiction and their family. It's also about the relationship that person and the family both have with their communities. From a parent perspective for you, Ann, and from a person in recovery's perspective from you, Ray, what is it that the community could be doing to better support and better partner with families and for people with the disease of addiction to help create more secure and longer lasting change?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Well, I think it really, in the case of from the parent perspective, does take a community. It takes everybody working together. You know, when people are toxic and we're all struggling, there's a lot of finger pointing that goes on. That goes on at all levels too. You know, that can go on for the person themselves who's struggling, active in their use. You know, I'm using because of you and you and you, and I don't have to look at my own stuff because I can blame everything else. The family absorbs that same pattern when we're not healthy. You know, my child's struggling, I'm struggling, and this and this and this, and it's everybody else's fault. And I think, you know, the really truly embracing the idea, everybody has a part in addiction and in recovery. And when we work together with all sectors of the community, when we're not expecting, oh, the schools just need to fix their stuff and then everything would be fine, or it's the police's fault, or it's the, you know, it's counselors are bad, or whatever. But we get in this thing instead of really having an open heart and working together and embracing that we can all do something together that none of us can do siloed and alone. We would be so much better off, but we're still, you know, we a lot of times we face this in isolation. And again, there's just something about the dynamic that makes it really hard to kind of embrace these things. On the helping parents level, where, you know, we offer lots of amazing meetings. Our prevention meetings are the least attended meetings. We cannot get parents and other people in the community to come out when we profile information on prevention. And to me, that is so sad, because once you're on the other side of this and there's issues, you know, nothing is more important than helping your loved one. It is everything. It is just consumes your focus. But, you know, if we could, as groups, just dedicate a few hours and learn like maybe 5 really good tips that, you know, there's no magic bullet or surefire thing that's going to keep addiction out of your home. These are complex, you know, conditions. But we also don't want to just pull the covers up over our heads and hope for the best as parents. We can be much more proactive. But it always breaks my heart when we bring in some really great speakers and have great information, and, you know, we can't even get a handful of people. And I'm not trying to, you know, shame communities or shame parents or people there, but it can be very disheartening, because this issue impacts so many of us. And yet, you know, we still struggle to get people to be able to walk through the doors a lot of time. And I understand that can take an act of courage. A lot of times it's kind of admitting there's an issue, and, you know, lots of things involved there. But we have some great resources. And the more we work together as a community, we can all be stronger.
Yeah, I agree, Ann. In the community, it takes a lot of different forms too. Like, you know, I talked about sober living, but you know, I hope it's okay to mention a couple of other sober livings in the area. Is that okay? Yeah. So, you know, Jim Riley and Joe Pello were my mentors, and Christo with Brothers in Recovery is just doing great work. Chris Flannery out on the east side is doing some awesome things. So we work with a lot of different people. And by the way, one size doesn't fit all, right? I mean, we'll get somebody who comes and they go, you know, I don't like that AA. You know, I don't like those meetings. You know, I don't like those people. Go back to the same meeting house 6 hours later to the next meeting. It's a whole new group of guys, and it's a different meeting. You say, well, they're all the same. Actually, we're not all the same. We're all different. And somebody will go to one kind of meeting and they say, well, I didn't like the flavor of that. I said, well, then try another one. You know, I didn't like Al-Anon. We'll try Celebrate Recovery. Well, I didn't like the Christian perspective there. Well, then that's okay. Maybe we go over here to another. You know, there's a lot of different opportunities. So I would say to all the folks out there, you know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, if you went to one program and you didn't like it, and then it's not meant for you. That's okay. The reason we have so many different ones is because it's just different for different people. I like different Celebrate Recoveries. in the Crossings group. I talked about Henderson Hills, I think, earlier on Monday night, but Crossings on Thursday night. And we've been on this Parents Helping Parents with Memorial Road Church of Christ down off of Memorial Road and other programs. So I would just say to the community, we need each other. We don't need to tear each other down. We just need to figure out what works. And what works for one brother in a family won't work for the other brother. I've got 3 brothers in one family who have all been to Parents Helping Parents, by the way. Their dad came with them. It was pretty cool. But they're 3 different individuals, and they've gone to different treatment centers and done different programs. 2 of them really found success at Rob's Ranch down in Purcell. Awesome program. I see some guys from down there are on our Facebook tonight. And, you know, it's not one size fits all, but, you know, there's something for each one of us. If we want recovery, it's out there. By the way, if we don't want it, nothing will work, right? I don't care. Nothing will work. And so I have to recognize that too. And I run into that guy, and his parents are frantic. What can you do for my son? Not really anything, but good luck. You know, he's not ready. And until I was ready, I was 50 years old when I went to treatment. 50 years old. Clearly that's too late. No, it wasn't. And here we are 11 years later, right? And so it's never too late. And if one program doesn't work, we go to another one. My last word to the community is we need all y'all, right? We need all y'all. We need Parents Helping Parents. We need Al-Anon. We need AANAGA. I don't care, A. We need them all, and the Celebrate Recoveries too. Oh, and don't sell church short. Man, we need all you pastors working with all the people. Man, it rocks. Thanks.
Real quick, I want to remind everybody that if you've got questions for either Ray or Ann, be sure to text those to us at the number in the title of the video so that we can get those answered. While we're waiting, guys, to see if anybody has any questions, if you had like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to give a message to a family that's struggling because somebody in that family is wrapped up in the disease of addiction, what would your like short message to that family be? And Ann, we'll let you go first. I got real fast on my mute button. I got too quick on the draw.
Oh gosh. So I guess what I would say, number one, is you don't have to do this alone. You know, there's help and there's hope. And so we tend to just retreat and isolate, where in reality, that's one of the worst things we can do. We need each other. We need to be connected. So, you know, I would just encourage a person who's struggling, reach out, take those steps, and realize this is a process. You know, we hear you need to pace yourself for the marathon, not the sprint. And nobody, you know, no family member wants to hear that. You know, we want this fixed, and we want it fixed quickly because it's so unbearable. So learning how to pace ourselves, baby steps to just move forward. We get really fixated. It's just the way we are as society, I think. But we want to do something and we want to see an outcome. We want to do this and we want to see, oh yeah, I did this, and look, my loved one's better and there's progress. This really is a journey of planting seeds. And I love that analogy to that, because you plant a seed, you water it, you fertilize it. It looks like nothing's happening above the soil level, but in fact, it is. There's no guarantee that's going to bloom. But, you know, when we get really fixated on, I want to do this and I want to see this outcome, we're going to be on shaky ground. You know, we have to learn to find what gives us peace, to find what we feel works for us, be open to not understanding fully why things work and how they work, but to trust the process and to just learn to do things because perhaps it's the next right thing to do, not because immediately I'm seeing some outcome. So that's why we need each other, because why we are frustrated and scared and all the emotions that come with having a loved one who's struggling, including that mourning of, you know, that person we thought we were going to raise, and they're off in a different direction. That stuff's hard work. So we need each other. So that I would encourage families just to take it a little bit at a time and remember we're planting seeds.
It was good, Ann. You know, I would say to the family who's trying to find serenity when their loved one is still doing the wrong thing. You know what? I think that was pretty much the question, right, Derek? So let me recite the entire serenity prayer. Most of us know a little tidbit of it that is on grandma's wall, right? But let me just remind you what the words say. God grant me the serenity. It was a poem, and then it became a prayer and was most famous as a foxhole prayer written by Reinhold Niebuhr. But it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. Here's a key: accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. And that's illogical. Accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, but trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, speaking to God, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Independent of who our higher power is, serenity is available to us. And so we have to reach out and we have to do our part. And I'm going to quote something from another 12-step program that I really promote and like. It's called Al-Anon. It was started opposite Alcoholics Anonymous, but they talk about the 3 C's. And I would say this to the family whose loved one is not conforming, right? We ask ourselves, did I cause this problem? Can I cure this problem? Can I control this problem? The answer is almost always no, no, and no. But when I try, I just frustrate everybody. I'm trying to control this person and they just fight back all the more. I'm trying to cure this person and they go the other way. And so I would just say to all of our folks, we accept this hardship as a pathway to peace, but it takes time, and we don't make it easy. I've got a personal story. I got a guy had 500 days sober, and then he relapsed. He just knew he was cured then, and he could drink, and he can't, and he's worse, and it's bad. And his 80-something-year-old mom is calling me. What do we do? Of course, this guy's out. He's got an apartment. He's not living with us anymore. But I talked to her about the 3 C's. Ma'am, you know, we didn't cause this. We can't cure it and we can't control it. And we just frustrate ourselves when we try. And she said, but what do I do? Which is back to your same question, Derek. And I suggested that she go to some recovery meetings for herself. Independent of her son, she go to recovery meetings for herself, and that she not feather the nest for him. And what I mean by that, and this is kind of a key, I believe we all get sober about as fast as our worst codependent gets healthy, but that is, don't help him survive in this wrong place. Somebody mentioned something about rock bottoms a while ago. We believe in raising the bottom. Meaning, everybody doesn't have to go just terrible bad off. We can let them suffer consequences right where they are right now. And if I will let them suffer the consequences versus feather in the nest so they don't have to suffer, I'm not helping anybody. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, Ray, thank you so much. And really both of you, I mean, just no value just to the wisdom that both of you guys have with your experiences and your dedication to your own programs of recovery and helping other people find that as well. So we didn't have any questions. Apparently you guys are articulate enough that you solved everyone's problems, that nobody feels the need to ask anything. So really on behalf of Parents Helping Parents, but really like for me, thank you guys for your willingness to do this for us. I love you both. I can't wait to see you guys at the next event or the next coffee meetup or whenever it might be. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a real privilege to be here. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right. You guys take care. You're on mute, Ray.
I just wanted to also throw in the Gibbons House down in Purcell because I left them out. And man, they're a good friend of Rob's Ranch and a great program down there. Thanks.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. Everybody that chose to join us. You could have done 1,000 different things on a Monday night. You spent your Monday night with us. We're really blessed and really thankful that you were here with that. I know that if you've got any questions or if you need help, reach out, go to parentshelpingparents.info, go to @parentshelpingparents Inc. on Facebook. Reach out to Ray Baker and Patriots in Recovery, reach out to the Partnership for Drug-Free America and the parent coaching program that Ann's involved in. There is zero reason why anybody should look back and go, oh, I would have changed, but there just wasn't enough resources or help, right? That is not the place that we're in right now with the recovery community, especially in the Oklahoma City metro area. There are plenty of people that will pick up the phone at 3 a.m. and visit with you, and 2 of them are right here with us. So if you guys need anything or have any further questions, be sure to send one of us a message. And thanks for joining us. You guys have a great week. Okay.